Yo, 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 it's your boy Dor coming to you live from Rhodes, Greece, from this crazy island with the fort, with the castle, exactly like in Game of Thrones. And what we're gonna talk about today is which one of the characters of Game of Thrones are you? Which one of the characters are you most related to? And from a self-development viewpoint, what can you take out of these character stories and own it so you can improve in your self-development and win in your own Game of Thrones game world? So let's begin. This is gonna be really fun and funny video. Let's get into it. So okay, we're about to enter the castle like Jaime Lannister came in the Twins. First thing I want to mention before we start getting into the Jaime Lannister character and how it's developing during the series, and what can you take from you, and if maybe you are a Jaime Lannister. And the first thing before that, I want to talk about round characters, which means some characters in Game of Thrones are like more round. Actually, I think almost all of the characters, and that's what actually drew us to the series. That's what actually made us fall in love with the series. Now, small confession, I read the books of J.R.R. Martin called Song and Fire and Ice when I was like 14. I was a nerd for Dungeons and Dragons. We used to play that. I used to read all the fantasy books, and then I read also Song of Fire and Ice, which the first book in it's called Game of Thrones, and that's what they made the series on, which is really cool and was very cool for me. I was really excited to find it out. And that's what made all of us fall in love with the characters, because they are round characters, which means it's not like flat like Superman. Okay, there's Superman, he's like this is a character, he saves the world, he has one character and that's it. Maybe during the movie he has like problems and obstacles and he gets through them, but he's still the same guy. And when we talk about Game of Thrones, it's like, take Jaime Lannister for example. When pushing the kid in the beginning out of the window, it made us really hate him in the beginning and think like he's a horrible person, he's a really bad person to do something like this. But then as the show goes on, it made us show like different sides of his character and made us fall in love with him basically, or make us love him more, and maybe just think about him as not like black and white. And this is exactly what I'm trying to do in self-development when I'm working with clients and people. It's like I want them to see themselves not as like a flat line person, not as a flat character, but as a round character, which means something that happened to them in the past. It doesn't mean that that's their whole life, that's their whole story. It means that they can change it, and that's the viewpoint of self-development. And this is why I want to break down this analysis about Game of Thrones, because the characters are round and you can tell much about it, how you can create change in your life with using the tools of self-development that I teach, and how did the characters themselves use those tools to improve their Game of Thrones play, to improve their Game of Thrones game basically. Okay, so the first character we're gonna analyze is Jaime Lannister. So what do I have to say about Jaime Lannister? Jaime Lannister is a privileged alpha male that raised in one of the wealthiest families in Westeros, which means he's an alpha, he's privileged, he doesn't care, he doesn't give a fuck about anyone. He's actually pretty much disconnected from social conditioning, which is amazing from my opinion, because he was raised in all this Game of Thrones top level elite game. He knows about the game. He doesn't really care for much for too many things. He just wants to be with his sister, to be with his family and care for them. So there's an upside to it and a bad side to it. So the good side to it is disconnected from social conditioning. It doesn't care about things, and for other characters, that's actually what stopped them in Game of Thrones. If you take Theon, for example, all he cares about Game of Thrones is to get the authority to approve him. He want to get the approval of either his father, as Ned Stark in the beginning, or his other father. He just want someone to say, "This is your place in the world. You're with us," and that's what's gonna fill his heart, to just like get accepted by authority. And that's what we don't want in self-development. In self-development, we want to bring your authority from the outside, from like the mainstream, from like the government, from like organization, institutions, like university or your boss at work. We want to bring that authority and put it back in our center. Okay, we want to work from our center, so we have to bring the authority back. So this is something really important, and let's say you are a Jaime Lannister. It's a good thing that you have that the authority is with you and not with someone else. Jaime Lannister doesn't even give a fuck about his father too much, and but there is a dark side to Jaime Lannister, and this is what you can see in the beginning of the show. In the beginning of the show, he pushes Bran out of the window, right? And when Bran is pushed out of the window, it caused all the karma of all the events. And this is something really big in the show, like the karma of the character. Like, until Jaime Lannister is gonna learn that he needs to care about other people, not only his family, and everyone, all of us are cut from the same cloth, sort of speak, and everyone is connected in the world, and it's your karma. If you don't care about other people, you hurt other people, it's gonna come back to you and hurt yourself. So that's what the character of Jaime Lannister learned during the show. Then after that, he cared about Brienne, the woman knight, and he helps her and get his hand chopped off. It's like he sacrificed a part of him to help someone else, and that's what caused a chain of events of him finally taking responsibility for everyone and going to fight with Winterfell against the Night King, even though he knows he can die or lose everything by doing that. And that's something really cool. He discovered that responsibility for everyone, and that's when his character is really like thriving. That's when his character really at his best. Now, to the end of the show, he actually goes back and he relapses to just caring about Cersei, but again in a different way, which means it's like in an epic way. It's not in the same way that it was in the beginning. So two things to take of it: if you're a Jaime Lannister, if you're an alpha dude or a girl, and you just don't care about everyone, you just want to succeed in your own game. I see so many people like that, alpha people that are like, they gotta figure it out, they look good, they look great, they have money, they have everything, and they don't care about anyone else. That's your sticking point. That's what's gonna draw you down. That's what's gonna ruin your game in life. And so you need to change it. But also, if you're not this alpha person, this is something good you can take. You can just get this mindset of Jaime Lannister. Like, what is Jaime Lannister doing right? You can see he doesn't care about all this authority and about social conditioning. So you can take this positive aspect and put it in your self-development game. And let's go to the next character. Boom. Now, the next character I'm going to analyze, by the way, I'm inside the moat here. Just actually inside the moat of the castle. You can see this is the bridge we stand on before that. That's the castle right there. And we actually gonna see how Darkonudo, Grey Worm, has breached into the castle from this kind of thing. And I want to talk a little bit about Darkonudo. So Darkonudo is a soldier that got like mutilated and got like really bad situation since he was a kid. He was basically like traumatized, abused, and like everything that is bad. And like I think like a lot of soldiers can relate to Darkonudo, and I can too, as a soldier, as someone that's been in the army, the Israeli army, for 3 years. I can relate to what's happening with Darkonudo, because Darkonudo is you can feel there is a big problem with Darko Nudo, okay? He's not connected to his emotion at all because he has so much trauma inside, so much pain that he's like almost, it's hard for him even to express a smile, okay? Now, being traumatized and stuff by the army and all of that, it's like a big subject. I don't really want to get into that, but the only thing I want to say about Darko Nudo, like, he have really good qualities, is loyal and is good, but the only towards the end it becomes, you can see like all the things that he kept inside are breaching out, and he become basically like traumatized, and like it's like a battle trauma. It's like it comes out and he start to just murder all these innocent Lannisters after Daenerys in the last season conquers King's Landing. He starts to just murder innocent people, and you can see all this trauma that was inside is coming out. So one thing I want to say about this, if you're this kind of character and you relate to Darko Nudo, one thing is like you have like a lot of healing processes to do about your stuck emotion, about your past trauma, and yeah, it's important to go through that. Even if you're a little bit related to him, I don't feel like I have a lot of trauma around that, like as much as him, but I haven't been to that crazy things that he's been through. I think there's still, once you've been in the army or some sort of like institution like that, you have a lot of things to heal, a lot of stuck emotion around unexpressed feelings and around trauma that you need to heal before you can conquer and conquer yourself and basically win the Game of Thrones of yourself. So the next character we're going to talk about is Daenerys, Mother of Dragon. Amazing character from my opinion. What's so cool about Daenerys from Game of Thrones, that she is a round character around trying to break the wheel, trying to change the system, she hates what's been done to her from an early age to her family, and she decided to ruin all the masters. She's trying to break the system. Okay, so there are this patriarchal system with all these masters and kings, and they ruin her family, and she want to change it. She wanna make the world better, which what draws everyone to her in the first place. But there's a big problem with what Daenerys do, and that's the shadow aspect of it. She's trying to break the wheel. Basically, she's trying to create a revolution. And when you're trying to create a revolution, you only revolve. You only go back to what was before. So you could see it actually in the series when all she tried to do is make a revolution and break the wheel, but she became the tyrant herself after conquering King's Landing, and she want to keep conquering places in the world, kill millions of lives just to break the wheel, so to speak, but she became like the wheel. And that's what happened to you. So if you're a freedom fighter and you identify with Daenerys' character, I think it's amazing how I'm doing a lot of like sustainable campaigns to save the Dead Sea. You can check it out down here and stuff like this, but you have to have the awareness that you can't really create a revolution because you're just gonna go back, or you're gonna become the thing that you're afraid of and you don't want to. Because if someone is going to give you all the power that she has, like she had, you're going to basically return to behave the same way.
I was born to rule the Seven Kingdoms.
So what can you do? So if you look at the different movie, like The Matrix, how do you plug up people out of the Matrix? You make them, maybe it's not in the movie like this, but actually the way to do it, if you want to get people out of the Matrix, like Daenerys tried to break the chains of the slaves, and she did it very beautifully. What you need to do is give the people the awareness and energy, or energy tools, to make it themselves and break themselves out of the wheel. So if we live in this world of patriarchy right now, we still have those, you know, those corporations that rule the world the same, and the families that are the same like the families in Game of Thrones, which are like, let's say, the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Donahue, all these kind of families that are in the top of the patriarchy, and they control all the corporations. So if we want to get ourselves out of the patriarchy, we don't need to revolve. Like, the system is ready for you to revolve. They have all the tools, they're ready for this. It's like in Game of Thrones. Danny just barely made it to there. So they have all the tools to fight you. What you need to do is basically, you just can stop being a patriarchal person yourself, or like stop consuming like in an unsustainable way, and just get yourself out of patriarchy. It's in your mind. It's in your the patriarchy is in your mind, and all you need to do to get out of the matrix, you need to change the way you think about things, and you can just like disappear. It's like the wall here. If I'm gonna just like break, like in the cartoons, create a hole in the wall and just disappear behind it, and all the other people are gonna stand like, where was the guy that stand here? So it's like that. You can just disappear the patriarchy. They can't stop you. They can't stop what you think, and you can just change the way you think. It's not a physical thing. Like Daenerys tried to do it in a physical way. She tried to like break the chains of people. But like you saw in the example of Dark Onudo, it doesn't work with force. So you can't break the wheel with force. You're gonna only create the same thing that you're trying to, and you can see it in like yogic, let's say teaching. It's not really teaching. So basically they tell you, if you try to object something, you're just gonna draw more of that. And that's the karma of Daenerys. You just drew more than what she hated so much. So you can't hate. You have to heal yourself from all the hate, and trying to break people out. Yeah, it's good, but you need to do it in like giving them consciousness to do it themselves. Give them the tools and the energy, but not doing it with force, because the system is ready for you to be against it. So you can't be against it, really. And that's the lessons for the self-development of Daenerys. Hope you like it. I think it's really big. It was a really big life game changer for me, getting that awareness that you can really win against patriarchy. You can just leave it, create a new game yourself, and make people want to come to the new game, to the new world, like we're creating here in this self-development game together. So thank you, and let's go on to the next character.
I'm trying to free your mind, Mia, but I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through.
Okay, now we're gonna talk about Jon Snow. A really cool character, for my opinion. He have a lot of good qualities, like he's willing to sacrifice him for his friends, for the world. He's a man of his word. That's the most important. He's like radical honest. He has radical honesty about everything. He's not going to break an oath. He's not going to break a commitment to someone. Radical honesty, it's something that's really missing in our society. Also, he's like willing to go all in on his mission in life. He's willing to go all in on his adventure of self-development, his adventure in the Game of Thrones, and he's just really cool about it, to go all in, being ready to die. That's something that like really amazing about Jon. The problem with Jon, his shadow side, is two things. First of all, he sees the game in just one way. Okay, there's one truth to life. That's it. There's one obligation, one thing that I need to do. That's it. And that's a big problem, because if you look at like other character in Game of Thrones, like Littlefinger can see things in different multiple ways. He can change his strategy. He can look at things not as one truth. He can, find different things, and sometimes he used like his meta awareness, and he shows that when he's saying like the Game of Thrones is like a ladder. As the more that you climb the ladder, or something like this, or people power resides, and where people believe in. And he shows that how we can think about thinking in a meta way, not in like a singular way. And in NLP, there is a really cool model that shows that. Is like a model that's split into four. Like, I'm not going to get into it, but it's like singularity point of view. There is like specific point of view. There is like social point of view. And there's like a metaphoric point of view of things, that you can look at things. And Jon Snow doesn't know that. That's what makes him sometimes a bad player. This is why he gets stabbed and died one episode. This is what can kill your game in life. And that's a big problem as a player. You need to learn about this model in NLP. If you want, write me down below and I send you something about it. Also, a big problem with Jon Snow is doing things out of victim mentality. So basically Jon is like, oh, I got this mission that I need to do, and he's walking in the snow and he's miserable all the time because he's doing things from a victim mentality. I didn't choose to do that, I didn't choose to fight, I don't want to fight anymore. This is why he's like this complaining. I heard from things that I saw that he's like that in real life. This is like his real personality. This actor personality, I don't know him personally, but I heard while shooting for Game of Thrones, he always like complained, I had it the worst. I don't know if it's a gimmick for him, or it's actually true, but don't do things out of like victim mentality. You can see it, a very good example of it, if like your roommate doesn't take the trash out and the house is dirty, and then you like take the trash out, and as you walk into the trash you think to yourself, my life, I need to clean after him, I only do it because he doesn't do it at all, like my life is shit. And then you do it out of victim mentality, and that's a big problem, to do things out of victim mentality. I think in the real world someone like Jon wouldn't get a lot of followers, as much as followers like he did in the show, because a real leader doesn't do things out of like victim mentality, not because I have to do it because of the circumstance, but because I want to do it and I will do it anyways. So take that lesson, it's really cool, and let's continue to the next character. Now the next character, and this is a short character, is Arya Stark. There's not much to say about Arya because she's not really a round character. If you notice, she's pretty much the same from the beginning. She just wants revenge on all her enemies, and that's what she does the whole time. She doesn't really change in this series. And if you identified with Arya, one thing you can take out of it is that, like Arya, the thing about Arya, she didn't really grow up. She didn't really realize something. Well, she's still a kid and a teenager character in this show. But one thing you can take is like, life is gonna change, like the way you see the world is gonna change, and don't take things in such a serious way like Arya does. Like if you look at Arya, she's having trouble to laugh, she's having trouble to enjoy life. She's a very miserable person, more or less. That's not a good way to go about life. So if you chose Arya as your character, think about like how can you take life less seriously. Think about how you can enjoy life more and see things in a wider perspective. And sometimes life just like makes it for you. Sometimes you just grow up because you have a lot of pain, and you just like mature, and you don't like keep hating people and try to get revenge on your enemies. That's a gremlin behavior, getting revenge, looking for your enemies every day, waking up. So maybe that's another thing you can take, like every day waking up and thinking about your enemies and who you want to kill. It's something that a lot of time our gremlin does, and we all do it, and wake up and think about enemies. Once you do it, remind yourself that it's only the gremlin that needs enemies, and you don't need enemies. You can just enjoy life, just go somewhere else. Something else totally is available right now for you if you choose that. So the last thing about Arya is she's actually, in the end of the series, she's going on an exploration. She takes a boat and sail to the horizon, and that maybe symbolized the new journey she started and discover who she really is. And until then she was not a round character, she was like a flat character. But it's interesting that she, in the end of the show, she finally puts all her enemies and all her shenanigans behind her and actually go to find out who she really is. And that's a cool thing to do if you picked Arya as your character, that you can go on a trip somewhere and exploration, and that maybe what can help you to see the world in a more round way. Okay, on the background of this King's Landing, I want to cover the last or before last character, which is Cersei Lannister. Cersei Lannister, she's just want to protect her family and kids. She's willing to do almost everything to sit in power. She has like this psychotic side about her. She's willing to do like really bad stuff. That's something that we kind of hate about her. So she's really cruel and everything, but what I like about Cersei Lannister is the fact that she's willing to do something about her situation. She's not gonna be like a small person. She's not gonna be a victim of the situation. She's like a tiger. She's like a lion, actually. She's like a lion. So what I like about her, actually, she's willing to do the moves. She's willing to do the moves. She has the strategy, and she has like everything to make it work for her. Like even when things are against her favor, she almost wins. Like in the end against Daenerys, she do a lot of good strategy thinking, and she's basically using her anger, which is something that we lost in the modern society. The ability to use anger as your drive force to do things and to stand up for yourself and not to take shit from anyone. You can do it in like a poisonous way, in like a revengeful way, like Cersei do, but you can also use your anger to do it in not a poisonous way, in a conscious way. So Cersei is like, don't take shit. And if you chose Cersei Lannister as your main character, I don't know, cruelty would be the thing that ruined it for you, because eventually nobody like cruel people, nobody want to work with them, and nobody wants to protect her anymore, and she basically dies eventually. But a good thing about it is to take if you're not Cersei Lannister, what you can take from her and to learn from her is to use anger and actually stand up for yourself. Like if you want something, just go for it and actually do it. Make the moves to make it happen. Use strategy, use whatever you can, do whatever it needs to make it happen for yourself, and be a lion in your own life without the shadow aspect of it. That's what you can learn from Cersei. So the last character I want to analyze is Jorah Mormont from Bear Island. He's the knight for Khaleesi. Basically, he's a white knight, okay? He's a classic white knight. If white knights are someone that always takes the higher moral ground. You can see it in a talk between Jorah Mormont and the other knight. They're talking between them who's has the better, who's most righteous, who's more righteous, who is stronger, has stronger moral code. And this kind of things is something that I think really ruins the world, basically, because your beliefs comes from the mind, and your mind is basically what's going to cause you to believe and fight for something and think you are really on a moral high ground, think you're better than anyone or more righteous than anyone. And that's a problem. You can see it in day to day when like someone comes to you and try to argue, thinks that he's right and you're wrong. He's trying to make you feel like you're like you're a scumbag, or he has the moral ground, he's like a righteous person, he's the white knight and you're just a shit. And a lot of time when someone comes to you like the white knight, you can destroy him really quickly, and that's not the way to go about things. Being a white knight is being unrelatable to life, being untouched by life, and just living out of your moral code. So don't be a white knight like Jorah Mormont. It's very annoying. So to conclude, we came to our last character, which is Tyrion. I think the most important character. What Tyrion understands during Game of Thrones is that his mind only gets him in trouble, and that's something big we can all take. We usually operate from our mind. We think our mind equals life, but our mind is not life. What we think is not life. Life is life, and when we try to use our mind to do everything, we just end up breaking things. And that's what Tyrion understands towards the end of Game of Thrones, when Bran the Broken tells him that he needs to be the right hand because he needs to fix all the things that he did with his mind. So everything that Tyrion tries to do in the series goes bad because it comes from the mind. It comes from him thinking that he's the most smart, or he can fix the world, or something like this. But the world doesn't work like this, and it's really interesting to see what he goes through in the show, when eventually, like in the last scene when he fixed the chairs for the right hand tower. If you wait for the meeting, you can see he does it from a different place. He actually takes time to be gentle about the moment, to be with the moment, and it's important for him to fix the chairs in the right place. So he's totally in the moment like that, and it's almost reminds me of meditation. And that's the actual way when, if you think about it, like who won the Game of Thrones, you can say it's Bran the Broken, like Bran, the kid with the wheelchair, right? He ended up to be the third eye raven, which is symbolism as like his third eye got opened, and he stopped identifying with the game. He stopped identifying with who he was. He said that in the show, I'm no longer who I was. So he stopped identifying with all these things that actually ruined the life for all the other characters that didn't understand that all the other characters basically just operated from either their mind or their wimp, or their survival strategies, or just their survival needs, survival defense mechanisms. They just operate to survive, or to get the things they wanted, and everything went through the mind. Nobody actually operate from awareness, and that's why they actually gave Bran the Broken to be the king eventually, because they understood that only someone like this can rule, only someone that actually care about the benefit of everyone. And how can he care? Because he doesn't identify anymore with who he was, so he can actually take care of the benefit of everyone, doesn't matter who they are. And this is an amazing thing. I hope you like this video. We come towards the end. If you want to learn more about meditation, I have a course about meditation in my website. I have an inner game course about 10 basic tools you can take out of self-development and implement them in your own life. Keep supporting me. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you find the lessons and value out of it that you looked for. If you like this video, of course, I want you, and I'm sure you're already there, to subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the bell for notification every time a new video comes. Check out my website. I'm gonna put it down here. I want your support. I want you to write me if you have any questions. If you need anything, please be in contact with me. Also, please check out my Patreon page. I'm gonna put this down below. The Patreon page is so important for me to keep doing this content. I'm now traveling the world in my own adventure with the tools of self-development, and your support will be much needed for that to continue happening. So if you can go to my Patreon page and do something, and just check it out. There is a lot of value. There's a lot of videos that I don't put anywhere else. Hope you enjoyed this video, and see you next time. Bye.